All right. Let's go ahead and get started. So I think last time we finished the bar part 2. Yeah, we have the first upgrade for the bar. Now, I do need 3 wood planks, which is not gonna be probably an issue in comparison to the 11 million credits. Why? Why is it so expensive? And we are absolutely dirt poor from the last upgrade. So 11 million credits. Yeah, we got nothing. We have Jack and shit. It is gonna be a hot second. How are we on everything else though, meanwhile? Ammo supply wise, not great. Not fantastic. Alright, let's restore the old RPK. 762. I do not have any of you. Hey Bob, how's it going? We'll get our ammo before the reset happens, I guess. Don't really need anything else here. I'm gonna go to Gorilla and buy 5.56. Alright, we're good there. We can probably just loot tunnels on our way there to, like, I guess, get stuff. We'll start pretty small starting out. We'll bring some drills. And we'll bring some meds. That's fine. I think the plan is just maybe just do Tunnel 8 Ashen and see if we can get lucky and then leave, or if we don't see mechs on Ashen, maybe we can keep going for a bit and go to Elephant perhaps, and then exit from there, because like past there mech wise we can't really get anything. Let me hop over to the bar 2. I know eventually we'll have to like do alcohol runs in downtown, but I don't think we need to do that until we're actually at like the full upgrade.
Gotta keep a record in the event of my death.
I can't talk to you. Can't talk to you. Can't talk to either of you. Now, what was my upgrade for? I spent 8 million upgrading this place. Where'd all my money go? Okay, yeah, and I don't have anything that would qualify as that yet, I don't believe. I'm pretty sure I need to actually go to downtown and loot, like, alcohol caches or whatever. Alright, give you alcohol. I don't have any of that either, because like all of the booze they want, I'm pretty sure you have to get from like specific caches on maps. All right, so that's all we got so far. I mean, you only need one machine part. I mean, I'm not, it is a bitch to get, right? You do need to get that machine part pretty early on. But once you get it, you got it. It's the only thing that requires machine parts that like is the crafting bench, right? There are some recipes that require it, but you can just get the thing it makes a lot easier than that. So
Hard to breathe up here.
yeah, hold on,
But
shaders.
the mask helps.
All right. So we're probably just gonna loot some containers here, then go up to hopefully scrapyard, or not scrapyard, Ashen Mesa. We can do Scorched E2. It doesn't really matter which one. Yeah, this is Tunnel A. I need enough stuff. Why so dark? It shouldn't. No, it's pretty normal. If it's dark, it might be your screen because it looks low. I'm looking at OBS right now. It looks normal to me. It is just a dark game too. Like you have to keep in mind this is actually just a dark game. It is not your run-of-the-mill modern game that is very bright even in the dark. I believe this, if I recall correctly. Where's my HP bar? Do I have you off? Show HUD on. There we go. That's probably why. Yeah, it takes us to our extraction. We don't need to go there. Yeah, it's just it is a fairly dark game. It doesn't like go for the modern stylistic approach of making all of the scenes very bright, which is a pretty common trend nowadays in most games. They do make their games very bright. I do think overall it does hurt identification of units, like, because like if you remember playing like Scorched Enclave early, it can be very hard for new players to identify silhouettes because the silhouettes kind of blend together and like you can't really see identifying marks on them all that well. Do you have your contrast or brightness jacked up? Oh, I will say too, okay, you might be commenting on the lighting, the mood lighting. All of the tunnels have a different lighting variants. So if you're talking about like, sometimes there's an orange, sometimes there's this darker themed. Yeah, like if you're talking about the actual like lighting theme, yeah, that's a variant mix. They use different lightings, like configurations on tunnels that they will randomize. If that's what you mean by dark. So this kind of like bluish light, this dark light, it's not very illuminated, it's not orange or bright. Like that is just a configuration on tunnels that happens occasionally. Sometimes it's less foggy, sometimes it's like orange. But yeah, there's a few different lighting configurations they use, or I guess atmospheric configurations they use on tunnel maps. It's sort of like day shift, night shift on the surface, but I don't really believe the lighting configuration in tunnels change how the underlying map plays in any capacity. Yeah, I thought you were talking about the actual brightness, but I know what you mean now. You're talking about the actual, like, lighting the mood. Yeah, that's just that. I'll just take ammo if I can. Taking drills, because drills are actually, like, one of the few, like, the problem with the new loot pools in the game, the new loot items, is that they're all pretty much fucking worthless. So they're terrible for, like, actually acquiring currency. Drills, because they're an older item, are actually still relatively expensive. So it's really nice. It's like one of the few things you can find on tunnel containers that are actually worth any shit of any bit of money. Yeah, the green smog you're talking about and the bright orange is like both configurations. This one's also one. Alright, let's head over here. There hasn't been a new patch out recently, so probably not. And I mean, the one they're doing in February might be warranting one because they're actually taking a break from doing monthly patches, which is nice to see. You're not going to be able to ship out a quality patch if you do them monthly. It's just as simple as that. Or rather, of any substance, really. I wouldn't get your hopes up overly on the new, like, what they have been doing for like the last year has been like a breakneck pace, and it's caused them to release kind of lackluster patches that have often broke stuff or left stuff by the wayside. And them slowing down now and getting back to what I would consider a much more normal cadence means they can probably start addressing all of the debt they've accrued over the last year. So it's gonna be lots of fixes for things that probably already exist and not necessarily tons of new content. Or at least it should be. If we're going off what they said in their little excerpt. So Don, there is, Fundog has this current mentality, it feels like, once again, feels like, so take this with a grain of salt, that everything they kind of do in design is based around like a AAA kind of quality or game loop, but they don't have AAA resources. Like, the way they've introduced and designed tunnels screams that it needs its own separate game loop, but they haven't even finished the base game loop of the game first. Like, they went up... It might just because okay, no, yeah, it was just the UI. It was just the UI. Yeah, I had the UI off when I loaded into the map, and then that's what I figured was happening. It was the UI. We're good.
Just one more run.
Shaders.
One more run.
So going back to tunnels, before I get into the actual map, going back to tunnels, the way they've designed tunnels, it requires its own like actual factual game loop because it's too time consuming, right? Like, and right now they've gutted it, right? They've gutted respawns. It's just you run through tunnels, you loot things, you might encounter a spawn or two, and then you move on. It's by and large a time sink now, and I can't see them really doing anything, even if, say, theoretically, they just, like, even if, let's say, theoretically, they removed all of the containers and tunnels to make it strictly about getting through tunnels, it's still just time padding. It's one of those things where how they've designed it, they've shot themselves in the foot, because it requires its own game loop and systems and things at this point. And it doesn't, the biggest thing about tunnels, right, is when I think of tunnels, I am trying to think of how do I make players feel like they're traveling through the world, and it misses that completely. A lot of people complain about tunnels from being in the sense of, I don't get to play the maps I want to play, I have to do this bloat first, which is fair, sure, whatever. But that's not really my personal point. The job that it was trying to do, it misses the mark completely. And it once again doubles down on this nature of them to try and do these AAA ideas or executions with an indie team. Like, you have to lean into the gamification of ideas and the simplification of ideas too from a technical standpoint. You cannot do these full bespoke levels or semi-bespoke levels with its own game loop when you don't even have your main game loop even close to done.
Don't miss. Make every shot count.
Like, they're struggling on AI, they're struggling on pathfinding, they're struggling on getting bits into the game they want to get into the game too. And like, how is creating a new game loop like Tunnels is going to fix that, right? Because all it does is make all of your AI more complicated. It makes all of your pathfinding more complicated. Alright, so no mechs, unfortunately. Because, like, not even, like, think of this way, too. With the way they've done tunnels, they now have a bunch of tiles that they've joined together that they have to connect pathfinding-wise if they want things to follow you through the map and not just stop at their tile set. And that means, like, for every unit they have in tunnels, right, they suddenly now need to go back and address their pathfinding and AI. Hello. Yeah, I mean, that's just, yeah, I know you're referring to the tunnels layout that requires you to look up. That's gonna get most new players. Thankfully, it's one of those things though, like, is like once you know it exists on that tile set, you won't fall for it ever again. Hello.
Trying to carefully extract the good stuff.
Alright, so ideally we're going for elephant. I could go the whole way through, but I just noticed my rig is the smaller rig, and so we're kind of full already.
Everyone for themselves.
Hey gang, how's it going? And like I'm never gonna say if it's like, if you like it, it's a bad thing. I will say, on one aspect though, the current state of tunnels is abysmal. And it's not from their vibes or from their layouts or from X, Y, and Z. It's not about the mood it evokes, right? It's about the gameplay design. Because right now, because like as part of, even before they gutted the respawns in tunnels, right? So now you basically have no units spawn in tunnels. They are just an endless source of loot for no risk. And think of what that's asking you to do gameplay wise. And like the just the perverse psychology it afflicts its players with. It turns a bunch of problems not into game problems, but time problems. Oh, you need water? Just go grind tunnels for free for an hour. Oh, you need supplies? Go grind tunnels for free for an hour. X, Y, and Z. It is such a weird way, and rather a poor way, of making your game a game. It's not a game at that point. It's literally just a fucking slot machine to, you know, for your players to pull and from to get a dopamine hit. Hey, Duffs. I mean, water in tunnels, but like, think of all of the things you can get in tunnels, right? I don't really need to get the scrap card. We'll try to find elephant. If we don't find the next one, we'll just go to that map. Like it is, yeah. It's destroyed so many different loops, right? Because it like. It's just ridiculous. From a behavioral standpoint of like training your players and onboarding your players, the last thing you want to do in your PvE game is introduce a loop that's just about sinking time into the game. Because what are you trying to serve with that loop? I'm not saying that grinds should never exist in PvE games, but like they don't need to be artificially long just for retention's sake. That's at the end. We need to jump over here. Yeah, I mean, people have been asking for achievements and stuff like that for a while. Hello, drill. Man. Sure. Okay, I'll take it all for now. I'm pretty sure on elephant, if we get to elephant, the only thing we're gonna be doing is looking to see if the mechs have spawned, and if they haven't, we're just leaving. If I remember this talisman, I think this leads to elephant? And we'll find out. I'm not buying viewers. I would like to go ahead and shout out all the people who buy viewers on Twitch because you allow those bots to exist. Because if they weren't making money, they wouldn't exist. Yes, the Forever Ground helicopter. I know they've tried to fix it a few times, but like that is kind of like the epitome of like, yeah, they have some clear pathfinding issues, right? I mean, the Codex is kind of literally the trophy though, right? I mean, so all you're asking though is an ability to turn the Codex into something you can display. Or something that turns into something visual. Like, it's still, like, it is still something that is basically, like, not really grounded in the unit itself. It is something extra. Hello, drill. Hello, drill. I think I did need two. I think I just need wood, not 2x4s. Like, I think I need wood scraps to be actually, like, I think I need 3 more wood scraps. I mean, yeah, the helicopter pathfinding has been broken for a while, and it just shows you the difficulty they've had with pathfinding, right? Alright. This is either elephant or mech trench. Alright, perfect. So the one thing that we're really doing here is seeing if the mechs have spawned. If not, we're just leaving. Shaders. All right, we should be good, I think. Yeah. I wouldn't be able to really answer you because I don't, like, we're grinding for the bar upgrades right now. So we don't have Octogirl and all that stuff, right? I definitely don't think I've even finished Lordos's, on this account's, cigarette quest. Completed it on my main, but this account I don't think I have Lordos done at all. But for a lot of things, Cap, it is just, yeah, just keep trying. Sometimes, you know, low drop rates, it's just low drop rates. You just have to keep trying. Sometimes you're praying for variance too in the map variance you get. Like, for example, for the brawler parts you need, the best part to actually farm them is Scrapyard, but at the same time, they only spawn on a particular version of Scrapyard. And so you can get unlucky sometimes and just have to, like, grind through Scrapyard over and over again to get the right variant. Alright. There's not really any quests to focus on because they're all basically repeatable. For the vast majority of quests, you can just keep doing over and over again. The only big things you need to worry about are like getting a silencer for your gun as a new player, which you can get right off the rip from Aramaki, and then getting the equipment runner. Like, for the most part, as a new player, your goal should be to get the equipment runner well, rather get to 20 water and then get the equipment runner. After that, the quests kind of just are whatever you want to do. There's not really any push. Like, if you see a quest that has a reward you want, go do that quest. But yeah, that's the two biggest hurdles, is make sure you buy a silencer, get to 20 water, and then basically just do everything you can for money, sell most of what you get that's expensive, and just get the equipment runner. I mean, I like the art. I'm also, you notice I've slowed down a lot recently too. I'm only streaming this once a week. I like the art and I like to support, like, I absolutely abhor the game they're making, but I like the IP. And like right now, the only way I can like show my support for the IP is playing the game. I don't think we got our mechs on either side. We do have the lovely helicopter. I actually think this one's pretty safe from the ground, actually, if I recall. I don't think this one goes into the ground that often, if at all. Actually, we do have some mechs, so that's perfect, actually. They might actually die. Yeah, it's not something I would really plan around. Nope, it dead. The chopper does not spawn very regularly on this map. It is not something common. I like Maskman just because he's like the jack of all trades of the bunch. That's why I play him the most. He's got good HP and he's got most weapons and he's not that slow. Yeah, for newer players, right, it's just about getting the silencer, and then the other thing is just getting the equipment runner. Because like, your money is basically directly like the money, your money income, your ability to do things in this game is directly tied to the rigs that you have, and the equipment runner is like the best catch-all rig that isn't uber expensive. So it's what I recommend getting the first, or quickly. The pack mule is a lot better overall for just mass looting, but like it's much more expensive and much more niche. It's not all characters can use it. Well, you're talking about the personal quarters. The personal quarters has nothing on the bar and the tower now. Actually, no, hold on. I need to leave. Like, if you think the personal quarters is bad, the bar and the tower are worse. And the bar and the tower actually have content behind them, unlike the quarters. Like, the personal quarters ain't got shit. I don't even have the personal quarters because it's not worth my money or time, because it is just an HP buff. Yeah, personal quarters is 7.5 mil and 25 foam. The bar starts out a little bit cheaper, but we're on the 3rd and 4th upgrade, so it's so much money. And it's like the ways of making money in this game are basically just codexes. You can do kind of slower but more consistent ways like farming water, but it's all bad. So like once again, the biggest thing you can do is get to 20 water so you can get Bundleton. Buy the equipment runner. You can't see here because I already have it, right? Buy this rig right here. Like, the problem is kind of this. If you have a smaller rig, even the equipment runner, right? You can do the loop where you go through the entire map. The problem is if you're looting regularly, you're gonna be full with most rigs by the time you finish the tunnel B in the map, right? Like, we were skipping loot and we were basically full after Elephant, right? So until you get the pack mule, you really can't abuse the entire loop of going through all of these maps. Like, this is the problem with tunnels too, is that it just, it doesn't feel like they sat down and thought how this sits in the rest of their game in regards to balance and how it works with looting and all of the economy and enemies and all of that stuff. It just, why? Anyway, 4 and 5 water is a lot for an earlier player, Malu, but once you have a rig that lets you take out 3 water a raid, his rigs are expensive, but you have to keep in mind you need to get over that hurdle. I would say this. The tunnel loot, the loot in tunnels is often god fucking awful for money. So don't spend all of your time looting tunnels. You could do the water farm. That will eventually make you money. You are much better off just running through tunnels A, going to Scorched Mesa, and looting the containers there for their items. As part of the tunnels update, they added a bunch of new loot to the game, and the new loot in the game is relatively fucking worthless. So like, all of these things you see here, 285, 800, all of these are these new items they added in that might have purposes outside of, like, you know, being sold, but are relatively worthless. But if we go to a bunch of these older items that we get from the older maps, they are worth a lot more. Like, this is very common loot. You can find stuff like this, for example. Like, you can find things that are worth much more of their weight, as opposed to others. So the PDAs too, for example, you find these on infantry, dead infantry on the maps all the time, or you find them in containers all the time. By and large, the loot you get from tunnels is fucking worthless. So don't spend your time in tunnels. For the, this? Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think this is worth it. This is like a chase item, right? Really? This is like a, if you have nothing else better to do and you really want to play the game. The bar is a bit different though, because the bar actually has content behind it, which, once again, it has been relayed to them through multiple different people, including myself, that this is bullshit. In nicer words, basically, but like, there is no reason when the first piece of progression is this right here, 20 days of water, 500,000 credits, and one of a bunch of common items. And the next piece is the bar that you have to do all of the upgrades to fully realize and get the stuff from it. What the hell? I would say, personally, for most people, do not opt into the water delivery bots because you're opting into a system. Because you're doing this, you're opting into water thief raids. Which, they're not that big of a deal, but if you're unaware of what they are, they can blindside you and you can get your account soft wiped. This is once again why I'm talking about, like, in a sense of, yeah, the last year, I'm sure maybe quite a few of you are happy with monthly patches, but this is the cost of monthly patches. A bunch of old ass systems that haven't been touched in a year that are still within the game that can blindside players and do things like wipe accounts. A soft wipe is this. Your inventory is basically gone. Your money is gone. You keep your character experience, and that's really about it. All of your upgrades for your innards, gone. So by and large, just do not do water bots unless you really want to opt into that system. It's not that hard, but if you're newer to the game or you're unfamiliar with the mechanic, it is not worth its problems. All right, throw a few drills in. All right, let's do a mesa to see if we can get lucky with a drone spawn or a mech spawn. Yeah, the drills are, there's a few containers that require drills too. Well, on shaders. Alright, we should be good.
I don't have a good...
The drills are mainly for like, yeah, like loot from mechs, unkillable units, all that good stuff. Alright, we have half the equation. Do we have the other half?
I don't know. Spread out.
Alright, looks like we only have half, unfortunately.
Everyone for themselves.
Well, that's part of the reason why, Malu, it's so important for you to, like, your first thing as a newer player should be getting the equipment runner. Full stop. Everything you get should be in service of getting that next rig. The game doesn't do a good job of telling you this, but that's basically your progression early on, is getting the special crafting area and then getting the equipment runner. That is your progression early on. Because your ability to make money and collect water is dog shit before then. And don't worry, like, Jeff, one of the developers, basically has me penciled in as a new player advocate, in the sense of, like, whenever I come to him with something, he's always views it under the lens of I'm talking about new player concerns, which is fair. But, like, it's something that's kind of on the back burner for now, because once again, when they're with their current cadence, it's like why worry about the new player experience until everything's in the game? Which is fair, but it does make the process miserable for new players.
As perfect a day as any.
So unfortunately, like, what we're actually really looking for here is we're looking for the setup spawn that has 2 Uresca medium mechs and 2 of these guys. We are also okay with a Rat King and 2 of either side's mechs. Essentially, we're trying to get their codexes, and we don't really have the means of killing them ourselves right now until we get the AT rifle, which is behind the bar.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
So basically, until then, we are kind of just, yeah. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Don't miss. Make every shot count.
I am personally, chill guy, more in the stance of I would personally, if I had ownership over the game and was able to just do things, I would remove so much content from the game. I would get rid of literally half the guns, at least on the spot. I would get rid of probably... I would probably shove tunnels into the abyss for right now until they get reworked. I would probably turn off water thief raids. I would probably turn off HKs. Well, exactly, right? And like, if you guys are on the Discord too, right? You saw the new poll of like, we want to add more attachments to your favorite guns, so let us know what your favorite guns are so we can make more attachments for them. It's like, no, please. No, don't do that, please. Give me an option. Where's the option on this poll to say stop? Please don't.
This is it.
IRL timer, yeah, immediately nuke that in the fucking orbit. It has there's no fucking reason to exist in a PvE game. Especially one that advertises itself as offline. I fucking hate drones. I would... You know what I would actually do? I would stick the artists in the fucking, in a basement and be like, you don't get to leave until you model a gun on these fucking drones.
Make every shot count.
It is, and also I would be like, fixed, please fix all of these weirdly inconsistently sized tanks. Hey Celestial, I'm glad you enjoyed them. I'm sure you know this, but just to be safe, I would like to make sure I mention that they are lore videos, but they're speculation videos first and foremost, right? For those unaware, the drones that have very, very, very annoying machine guns, that seem to just defy the laws of physics, don't have an actual, like, modeled gun on them, so they're just shooting you from the ether. I ultimately don't care about Rat King, so yeah, I wouldn't concern myself with Rat King all that much. Oh, I would nuke the helicopter until they actually like give it proper movement, because nothing's more off-putting than seeing a helicopter being dragged to the X, Y, and Z axis and not flying. Like, the helicopter literally looks like it's been put into an editor and is being dragged like you would move it through an editor for its movement. I mean, it going underground is one thing. The fact that it flies the way it does is a different thing entirely. Need drills. Hey, Past Glory, how's it going? Thanks, Celestial. I mean, the background music is from the game soundtrack, so I can't really take credit for it. It is from the game.
Hard to breathe up here.
Yeah, it floats around and is dragged kind of through the plains. I mean, Evan, we're just looking for... Okay, we have half the equation. We're just looking for the mech setup to get some codexes. Oh, we have 4 Eresca medium mechs. Jesus. I don't need foam, I need credits. Also, if I was gonna cheat the system, I would just go install the mod to make it cheaper. I am playing the game how Fun Dog intended. I'll need foam eventually for the tower, but we're not even close to the tower yet. We're like 23 mil short of both bar upgrades, so we're a ways away. I want you to think about that statement though. If you're like, I want you to think about that statement. You're saying that they should add all of their units to the game. Thanks, Celestial. You're saying that they should add all of the units to the game before making them functional? That seems like a very interesting and kind of shitty way of doing it, to be quite frank. Because it basically says we're going to put more and more broken enemies into the game, and then we'll fix them later. And for those who have ever worked in software, the term fix it later is a fucking lie. The only time things get fixed in software is when they actually fully break the platform. All right, so we unfortunately we missed our RNG here. I will say, at least on the plus side, like once you get the bar done, at least you can farm codexes more consistently. Like, part of the problem here is, right, is that like this is a new, I make new accounts to play with pretty regularly because I always want to make sure I made a new account with tunnels because there was lots of people, for example, saying they were having issues in tunnels in regards to movement. And if you're unaware, you get better movement, your character gets faster walking speeds and speeds as they prestige up. And so a year-old account with level 25 characters can't really have the same experience as new players in tunnels. So I was like, okay, let me get a new account and let's try out tunnels, right? But that also means I don't have any stockpiled money or grenade launcher ammo and so on and so forth, right? And with the economy nerfs they made to ammo, you basically cannot really buy grenade launcher ammo anymore in enough weight to reliably kill mechs. It would take you like 2 to 3 resets to get enough ammo to kill 2 or 3 mechs. Oh, the weight message pops up all the time when you get like pretty heavy on weight. Yeah. Wait, what? Oh, this is the blowing up tower, the blowing up the bridge thing. Yeah, better movement by having a faster walking speed.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Yeah, better movement speed, which in turn means better movement, yes. Oh yeah, it's gonna get into Uncanny Valley really soon, where like you're gonna have a hard time telling.
This is it. We decide what happens next.
Welcome to the future. The really shitty future. I typically tell newer players to usually start with Shaman. The reason why is because Shaman has a little bit faster movement speed than Masked Man, so it makes moving around the world a bit easier, especially as a newer player, because moving around the game can be a little bit difficult starting out.
Wake me up in a
And so
year.
Shaman's a good one. And the other reason why I don't recommend Scav Girl, there's an issue with the character design. So let me just go over here. So Shaman, I haven't played Shaman at all. I usually play Masked Man. Shaman, you can see here, doesn't have the need to unlock rigs. In contrast, if we go over to Scav Girl, who I haven't even played on this account yet because, you know, why would I? Because I don't like them. The issue with Scav Girl is she has to unlock her rigs with experience. And if you're unfamiliar with the game, you have to get experience and prestige yourself to progress your character, right? And so what essentially happens is you spend your experience on, let's say for example, you get up to this point, which you can't even do right now. You need to be prestiged up a few more times. Let's say you get to the point where you actually can use this. Let's say like you're level 5 prestige, level 6 prestige. Well, if you ever want to prestige your character again, you lose your ability to use the good rigs until you get that enough experience again, right? And this happens over and over and over and over again, and it's so annoying. And the other character who has that quirk is Old Man, who has to unlock their rigs. It is insanely annoying, and everyone past that to the right, Masked Man and on, does not have that ability in their skill tree. What you get instead is the permanent ability to use the equipment runner as Shaman, and you get to actually upgrade its capacity if you want to. But no, yeah, that's why I don't recommend Scav Girl, because Scav Girl is really annoying when it comes to leveling up, especially as a newer player, when you have to do it a lot. It drives me up the wall. I honestly, Alex, I have no idea how to answer that. I mean, the game does have co-op. It's peer-to-peer, but if you're on the same network, it wouldn't be bad at all, because you're literally right next to each other, presumably. I don't know, man. I don't know you and your wife. That is such a hard question to answer. What I will do instead, Alex, is I would say I would only recommend this game to one type of player right now, and if you think both your wife and yourself are that type of player, then maybe yes. The way I would say this game is for people who are very into like aesthetics. They are much more into the vibes and the art and just kind of the feeling they get when they're playing a game, as opposed to necessarily the game itself. Like, I'm kind of, Alex, leaning a lot more into probably no then. This game is not very well polished, and there's not really much of a game here currently. I would not recommend this to people who are trying to really get into a game, as opposed to more of like a vibe or an art piece, right? Because there's not really a cohesive game currently here. It has that same underlying core loop of an extraction shooter like Arc Raiders, where you load into a map, you gather loot, you kill things, and you leave. But like, it's not very, that loop is not very polished. It's very, very rough. But on the plus side, you kind of get more content than Arc Raiders in a way, which is insane to say considering the team sizes, but it's way jankier, incomplete, and like less cohesive. Yeah, it's certainly a unique game, Third Shot, and a unique IP. Let me make sure I have the right region selected still. Yeah, City Ruins, okay. Yeah, I mean, if you like Arc Raiders and you like Baldur's Gate, I wouldn't necessarily that means that you would like this game. It doesn't really have a lot of, like, it has basic co-op, but it's not like very deep co-op, right?
Wake up, rinse and repeat. stay alive.
Well, past glory in the sense of like, the way I'll say it is this, is that when you're having to like, if you both have the same loops of like, let's say you have Arc Raiders and then this game, right? It is unfair to compare Arc Raiders to this, right? Because Arc Raiders has hundreds of employees, hundreds of millions of dollars put into it, and 8 years of development, right? This game has none of that, and it's not even close. But they're still trying to have similar game loops and similar game design, it feels like, to some capacity. Which kind of shows you, like, yeah, they're never going to be able to get to that kind of level of polish that Arc Raiders has, so don't even try. Like, you have to, like, lean into the indie, right? Yeah, I mean, considering it's usually chronically on sale too, I think you would get enjoyment out of it, at least if it catches your eye currently. I'm not sure if it's a game that will hold your attention, but it's a game that will catch your attention for a bit. Well, Third Shot, well, the point I'm raising is this, right? If you showed me a product, two products that were going after the similar game loop and game style, right? And one had to do it in 8 years, hundreds of millions and hundreds of employees. Are you telling me a developer with 3 coders will be able to do that? No. It's insane to think that. Like, even if they're like the best developers ever, it's insane to think that 30 people, 23 people can come up with the same thing that 10 times their number can do. In 8 years. It's just unrealistic. And we're seeing the cracks now, right? Of like hey, the reason why they're able to do what they do is they leave so much by the wayside after they introduce it, and they don't fix things. Case in point! What better timing? And like, I think she might enjoy it then. You guys can give like considering it's also an equation too of like how much is money worth to you guys, because the game is not charging AAA prices, right? Or even AA prices, right? It's like usually charging $20 when it's on sale chronically. So like if $40 between the two of you is not that like crazy, then yeah, pick it up, give it a try. They've already basically said there's not going to be an update basically in January, so we already kind of know that to be true. But like, no, like the reason why they're able to like get all of this content out, give this core, like, if you think of the game loop of Arc Raiders and this game, they are very similar. The difference is the polish, right? Like how realized things are. And think of all of like, Arc Raiders has like 15 guns and 15 enemies, right? This game has more than that in both departments. And you can see the pain in both systems, right? Most of the weapons in the game do not functionally work, or are not worth it, or just are pure vibes, or don't even have proper rigging for their attachments, right? And the same thing for enemies too, right? The Stiltwalker they added into the game. The Stiltwalker is broken. Granted, you never really see it, but the Stiltwalker's been broken. Same thing with mechs. Mechs are mostly broken too. Thankfully, the sync kills kind of alleviate that now, but like, remember before the sync kills, mechs would constantly hug other mechs. And even then, earlier today, right, we saw like 2 of the medium mechs for Europa being basically inside each other. Like, that is the cost of trying to emulate a company 10 times their size at the least. With the same game loop. Like, you're not gonna be able to have 30 units with full AIs and pathfinding. And like, you might think like, you know, Tarkov was able to do something similar to that, right? Well, think of the enemy AI in Tarkov, because they had one AI for basically all of their enemies, right? And they would tune settings on that AI depending on the enemy, right? It'd give them more HP, make them more accurate, give them snappier aiming. But at its core, right, it was just one AI that was controlling all of the enemies, right? And how they responded. But then think of this game, right? Where you have your ranged infantry, your melee infantry, you have your mechs with multiple guns on them, you have your tanks, you have your helicopters, you have your mothers. All of those ask for different AI systems and different pathfinding beams, right? And if we think about too, their earlier Q&As, you can see that they've always had this kind of AAA ambition without realizing that they don't have the means of doing it. Because remember, they were talking about earlier how they had like modular damage systems, right? Where like you could see damage being affecting enemies. And they we had a fully simulated battlefield, right? But it couldn't run on people's machines. It could only run on our like Threadripper machine, right? That's showing me that they're trying to do things in a very straightforward kind of brute force sort of way, right? But game dev is about doing these subtle cheats for performance, for gamification, for all of those means. Essentially, they are an indie developer with a AAA mindset, and it shows. And they like, it seems that there's a degree of stubbornness to gamify systems that need to be gamified. Those like mechs and choppers maybe shouldn't have full AI. Maybe they should be somewhat on rails, like where what they do is not fully scripted, but mostly scripted. You can still have things feel organic and dynamic through clever scripting. It doesn't have to have full like AI where it goes into a map and does whatever it fucking wants. Especially considering this, like, this is an indie game. It's okay for it to use these kind of measures of getting around things like that. Like, maybe the mechs shouldn't even be on the battlefields with us. Maybe they should be off map. Maybe they should be shooting in. Maybe the Stilt Walker should never be on an actual map. You only see it off in the distance shooting rockets in. So you never have to worry about its actual pathfinding or its actual ability to, like, you know, traverse the fields. It could be on rails. And it can still die too. You can give it HP, but it doesn't have to have full pathfinding or the ability to deal with these weird scenarios where it has a tank under its feet. Because if you haven't seen the Stillwalker yet, that kind of happens a lot. Because the base AI system for all of their enemies or all of their units is to walk toward enemy and shoot. And so the Stiltwalker has this knack for not doing enough damage quickly enough, so it will just walk up to tanks and it will just hug tanks and it will just stand there in perpetuity. We've seen Stiltwalkers get stuck before.
Has our luck run out?
I tried Once Human originally. It is one of those games where I'm just like immediately no. The UI and the gunplay and its Rust sort of style were all just no's to me. I am seeing... Do we have mechs? It might be a grenade launcher, actually, not a mech. Might just be a grenade launcher. The only one Europa medium mech might mean this works, actually. There's a knack for... If there's two Europa medium mechs, they usually do not die. But one actually can get focus fired enough where it does die. And like the Cat War boss, that's even just like a better example too, right? Of like introducing systems or enemies in the games that aren't fully realized yet. It just makes it worse. Look at this kill unit that doesn't really do anything. No, yeah, just one medium mech for us, so we're good. That will die to the gunfire. No, that slow, like, large tracer is usually a Eurusket infantry shooting a grenade launcher. All right, there's a good old 600k. Case in point. Well, things like third shot, like you don't usually have to worry about water raiders unless you're doing the water thief quest, or you have water bots. Like you cannot get that malice if you don't do either of those. Another case in point too is the HK system, right? Is like the HK system is currently universal, so like you will. The tanks are fucking scaring me, man. Like, let's say for example I loot this codex, right, and get a grabber as the HK. Why is that a thing? Wouldn't it be more appropriate if they sent Europa enemies after me to get back their codex? Fuck you, droids. I mean, you can have the fear of being raided, right? But if you haven't even done, like, and you can't be raided if you don't have those. It literally cannot happen.
Death is on its way here.
I don't enjoy that I haven't been shot at yet. Oh, fuck me. What? No, Free Power, they're not doing HK reworks. Once we get to the bridge, we're relatively safe. Alright, we should be good. Well, it can't pathfind across the bridge, but I never want to say never because back in the day when they first introduced cemetery to the game, there was a knack of the dog teleporting right behind you or teleporting around. Hey, JV. So I never want to say never. The teleporting dog in fucking cemetery was great. And by great, I mean awful.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Yeah, it can teleport on Mesa too. It shouldn't ever teleport on the bridge. But at the same time, never say never. Well, the bridges on Babel are a bit wider because they can support exos. The bridge on this one has that weird kind of those like little like side things that make it really hard for it to get across.
Wake me up in a year.
That's so hypothetical. Yet, all I can say yet is that I hope all of their eggs aren't in this basket because this basket is very leaky. Woohoo! Let's have a few things here. All right. So like all I can as being a supporter of the IP, maybe not necessarily the game, all I can necessarily hope is that like all of their eggs are in this game basket. So that like if this game doesn't do great, that they're perfectly fine afterwards. Yeah, dog still teleports. It still teleports into like in cemetery occasionally. It's much rarer now, but it still can happen. Alright, let's see if we can go find some booze. For a quick mental break from the mech farm grind. Hey, John. Let me... vendors. Let me go M4 for a bit, because I have ammo for that. Bring like 250 in. Just go for big boy meds. We'll bring a few drills just in case. We shouldn't need these drills, but just in case. Backup ammo, we'll bring a few shotgun shells. And we'll start Dean go to downtown, hopefully. I'm not sure if it can be in early access forever. I do think it, like, there's always the concerns of money and income and just, like, solvency. Like, I want to preface this by saying, don't doom off of this info. Like, it is just a normal part of game development. Miho, they basically mentioned in a blog post on Steam that January patches is not going to happen. It's going to be next month, which is good. They should slow down. I want to mention this. Like, okay, so they released into early access of September of 2024, and in like February, March of 2025, they were already securing additional funding through an investor VC. And I don't like, game companies need money to operate. That's perfectly fine. But like, they made a decent chunk of money off of early access. Or did it just go poof? Or do they feel like they're going to be in such like development for such a long time where like we already know that we need additional funding, despite the fact that we just probably made like, you know, 5 to 10 million. And in the grand scheme of things, 5 to 10 million is not a whole lot in the words of software terms, but it is a couple of years of runway. So like, it kind of just begs the question of like, why did you guys need to go get funding again that quickly after early access? All right, so we're looking for downtown. I mean, I think Miho, they should have been quarterly for the longest time. Until they have this, like, I think this reckoning, I think they just, the biggest thing I want anyone to do, right, is to learn from their mistakes. It's usually how I learn too, right? Like, I am do things wrong the first time, so I know now how to do it the second time, right? That's usually how I learn things, right? Is just fuck it up the first time, then fix it later, and then next time do it the right way. Now that I know, and it feels like this is kind of this for them, in the sense of maybe they're kind of realizing the sense of, okay, we're an indie studio now, not a AAA studio or AA studio. We probably need to rely on more gamified systems or like an actual game mechanics, as opposed to trying to do everything that AAA does. Yeah, Silent, it does feel like that. It feels like they're looking for funding milestones, absolutely. And like, once again, it's not a big deal if they are. Once again, like, companies need money to operate, so it's not that big of a sin or a sin at all. But like, considering they acquired this additional VC in February and they started doing monthly patches in March, April, May, it lines up way too well. It absolutely feels like a VC funding milestone. For those unfamiliar with venture capitalists, they will often release money in tranches, or essentially just like, they won't give you all the lump sum at once. They'll be like, okay, show forward progress, and every time you show forward progress off this criteria, we'll release more funds to you. Well, Mio, you got to like, keep in mind, this game sold around 500,000. Like let's say, conservatively, this game has sold between 500,000 and 300K in like 300K into 5 million in units, right? And at an average sales price of, let's say, even $20 with Steam's cut, like, they've probably made in the ballpark between 7 and 10 million off the game currently. That's not including skin packs, which I don't think are probably a big drop in the bucket for them. It's probably a little bit, but not probably a whole lot. They've made 7 to 10 million. And at like 30-ish employees, which I've heard they've downsized since they're more about 20-ish employees, they're likely burning around 3 to 3.5 million a year, assuming benefits and overhead costs and all that good stuff, right? So like off the sale of the game, they should have had about 2 years of runway at least, and more if they downsize immediately after that, which they did do. Or we used to have a community manager, and they're gone now. So like they did do some layoffs around March, April of last year. I mean, yeah, I didn't personally buy the recent skin pack because the skins in it I didn't really want to support financially. I don't mind that the skins they put out in the most recent pack exist, but they're definitely so far outside my comfort realm of what I want in this game. I did not support them in that skin pack. It depends, right? So Miho, the way you technically go about it, right, in the current day and age, in my opinion, is like, yeah, you have two big peaks. You have your early access peak, and then you have your 1.0 peak, right? And typically speaking, like, by itself, 1.0 for a small game like this isn't enough to get it notoriety, get picked up, right? But the way you sequence it is that you do a big media push alongside 1.0. I would not be surprised if like they are just waiting for when the game's in a better spot to do a big push with sponsored segments. I would not be surprised if Rillo maybe has a video on Retainer, or will do another video about the game. By and large, Rillo's best videos so far have been about this game, so I'm sure he would love to do another video on the game because it means money for him. So like, I'm sure they're just kind of waiting for the point to be have the game in a better spot to do a big media push. And I've talked to the devs too. I don't think they care about me sharing this. They can see wish lists of this game, right? They can see those numbers, and apparently it's quite a lot. I don't know the exact number, but they like the way they made it sound is like they have a lot of wish lists for this game, and so like they know they have untapped customers that they just like are waiting to tap into. It's just they know where the game is not where it needs to be, right? My only hope is that they're not gonna my only hope is they're not doubling down on the way they're currently doing it and thinking that will be sufficient. Is this a way out? This can't be a way out. Well, Miho, we had to keep in mind, if you're asking for something with different gameplay, we don't even have the first gameplay loop done yet. It's like, it's part of the issues with tunnels, right? The way they've currently designed tunnels is screaming for a different game loop. But like, you're a small indie studio, you can't have games within games within games. Especially considering the main thing that you're pushing is very similar to, like, for those unaware, if you've played Arc Raiders, right? From an outward appearance, Arc Raiders feels like a very simple game, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like for most people, like it doesn't feel like a very complex game at all. You go into maps, you loot, you kill things, you leave. Like, that is very simplistic from a game standpoint, right? But the complexity comes in the polish, the seamless experience you have, right? The fact that you can play on many different platforms and have the same experience. You can play controller and PC, it's relatively the same game. And all the enemies feel good, they feel interactive, all weapons feel good, they feel interactive, and so on and so forth. All of their development time was on making that simple loop so well thought out and polished and seamless between all endless different users. You can't have that in a game like this, and it's futile to try. It's not even about fixing what we currently have, like bug fixing, Dust. It's figuring out ways where you can gamify your game that's easier development-wise. Let's say, for example, tunnels. And I will mention too, I was a big fan of tunnels too when it first came out, but like, it misses the mark. Because the way I see tunnels, right, is it's supposed to emulate or make you feel like you're traveling through the world. And right now, tunnels doesn't feel like that. It just feels like its own level. It feels like buffer, basically. And what is like, why not go to a very simplistic, more RPG-like system where you see your character traveling through a map, like on a 2D plane, or even 3D, or essentially create a system where it's not about the map, it's about events and the stories you tell along the way. And what's important is that when you use this as a travel mechanic, it doesn't become its own game loop, it becomes a modifier for your already existing game loop. So let's say, for example, let's say, for example, you have an event where you run into traders, or you have an event where you run into, let's say, for example, you have an event where you run into Europa Patrol. And the Europa Patrol is being like, we just came from this map you're going to, or this map you might be going to, and they tell you it's overrun with Eruskins. And that will modify your event or your map to be basically pure Eruskins on the map. But they might actually offer you a quest 2 for reputation. Like and you can have that be in like 2D character art text, and then do modifiers to maps and spawns. It doesn't have to be its own game loop, it can be modifiers for your existing game loop, and it adds so much flavor to the world. And the beautiful thing about it, right, is you can make systems like that modular to the point where you don't need coders to iterate on it anymore. The coders have to put it into your game at first and create the system, but you eventually get to the point where you have a JSON file full of events with modifiers and things they do and calls they make. And you can have these like massive iterations where you can have like an artist or a writer or a programmer go into these JSON files and add new events as they see fit. And it immediately becomes, it makes you feel like you're journeying through the world and not just like having this bloat on maps. And it adds replayability too, right? Because it creates things that, you know, allows for lots of diversity on maps in a very simple way. And because it's all focused on like 2D arts and events and text, you don't have to worry about AI or pathfinding or so on and so forth. Like the issue with tunnels is that they basically said, let's make our AI workload and our pathfinding workload even worse. I'm currently on the point, Victor, where I don't think the current version of tunnels is redeemable. With how they've shown they're going about, Fundug has had this knack because of how fast they work on things and how fast they're constantly going forward. the way that they fix things they've already released is they gut them. They did it with stamina, they did it with water. The way they fix things is they gut them to the point of being irrelevant. And the last thing the current tunnel system needs to be is even more irrelevant than it already is now. Exactly. Because it's forgettable now because they have gutted it to the ground where it's no longer relevant at all. And that is how they fix things they introduce. They gut them. They essentially did. Water still exists in the game, but like it really isn't all that important. It is a threshold you need to have to build buildings, but other than that, it's unimportant, right? You can farm water for your money if you want to, but like it doesn't serve any purpose that it was originally supposed to serve, right? They have utterly gutted it from like being meaningful at all. For a game whose original premise was like, you know, you're a survivor and water's important, water isn't really all that important anymore. It's fucking everywhere. And it's relatively unguarded too. You can just find it just laying around everywhere. It's great. Water death doesn't exist. The only soft wipe in the game currently is water thieves. Peak gameplay. I really feel like that was an intense moment right there, full of decisions and choices to make. Silent, that just goes to show that every time like anything's brought up, like anytime they do anything in this game, it feels like they do it in the most monkey paw curls way possible. It genuinely feels like anytime something gets introduced, it is the most cursed version of it possible. Back to codex farming. Well, so Fruit Par, the issue is this. All of their problems are not problems that can be solved on a monthly basis. It requires sitting down, figuring things out, and actually iterating and developing. And like, that's where the difficulty in game dev lies, right? Is that doing iterative design that needs to happen in software is not quick. It is often of try something out, see if it works, and then amend it, right? No game dev rarely gets anything right on the first try. It requires iteration, or just software in general requires iteration, right? And that takes time. It's why, for example, it took Arc Raiders 8 fucking years. Because things like gunplay, movement, enemy AI, sound, all of that requires iteration to get to the point where it's actually seamless and good and fits together. But with their monthly cadence, right, they develop something and they put their version 1 out for the audience, and then they never touch it again. At most, they just gut it. All right, we have tanks. Oh my god, we finally did it. Alright, so we're gonna get at least 3 codexes from this. Assuming we live. That is the big assumption here. Let me go get upstairs quickly.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
I do have the drills. Yeah, we're good. Now, we could only get 2 if we get really unlucky here, but we'll just have to see. If Yuruska loses the die roll again... Okay, no, we're good. And there's a chance we get 4-2 if the last medium mech dies, but it's not very likely. No, go the other way. Kill each other.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
But like, for example, here, like this is a very common issue with the AI, for example, right? Where like the Yuruska medium mech is hugging that tank, and the tank is hugging the medium mech, and they don't have the logic to move across, like move away from each other. And so they just kind of sit into this weird melee, and the actual melee attack for the Yuruska medium mech does not do enough damage to kill the mech immediately, so it just looks awkward. Alright, let me go ahead on down.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
Fuck you, drone. No one likes you. Yeah, and like that's the way, honestly, I would just not have them be on map in the first place, right? Like the idea that these enemies should be like so lethal, you should never be around them in the first place, you can just have exist from never having them be on the map in the first place. Always have them on the periphery. Especially too, if you're gonna make these maps very small, would it not make more sense to always have these giant fights happening off map? To the point where you can still see them happening, but like not be adjacent to them. Fuck off. Fucking drones, man. The most annoying enemy in this goddamn game. And I say that even more than shotgunners. Come on, kill each other. Like even right, like, case in point, this is when people like, this is what people mean by the sense of the AI is wonky as shit. Just walking by each other. Kill each other. Come on, do it. Yeah, wouldn't it be better, free power more natural, if just like going out of bounds is more of you getting noticed by the actual things fighting off map and you dying to them? Come on, kill each other. There we go. I think currently, I mean, they have story quests kind of in game, right? Between Lordos and Octogirl, and then repairing Lordos. That kind of already sort of exists. There's one. Get you drilling.
Damn fire, can't see shit.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if I could get there, Victor. I'm not gonna cheat to get my way there, though. Well, that's my problem with the tower, too, is I basically directly told them this, is like, between the bar and the tower, you have two very organic ways of grounding quests and reputation, and you put them so late that most players are never going to experience them. Because between the foam and credit grind, like, there is, like, seriously, like, 50-ish hours of content, at least, before new players get to the tower. At least. And asking players to basically have nothing for that fucking log is insane. Was there one here I missed? This fire is so inconvenient. That's not good. God. I'm very glad to see the current trend is still existing too, where there's every single patch to make enemies tankier and more lethal. It will not stop. It seems like a bunch of weapons now like no longer one-shot headshot most enemies.
I think they spotted him.
Don't run over me, please. I'm too young. Oh my god, please stop respawning constantly. I'm still missing one container. This fire is not helping. I think I already opened that one, right? Yeah, you're open already. Is it over here, maybe? People who are saying it's dead have brain rot. Because it's assuming a game that's a PvE offline shooter can fucking die. It's such a fucking stupid goddamn zoomer take. Oh, this PvE game is dead. It doesn't fucking matter if no one's playing it or not. It doesn't affect the gameplay, you retard. Jesus. No, like, it is... the game is good, Maximus. It solely depends on your perspective as a player. If you're looking for, like, a very solid gameplay experience, it's very rough on the edges currently. If you're really into the art, you will probably find plenty of content in it. I'm gonna take my 2 and move on. I can't find this third one.
Running is always an option.
And if we get grabbered, we get grabbered. We can't do shit about that anyway, so why play around it? So this, like, the whole idea of games being dead at times strictly relies upon players affecting the experience of that game if there's not enough of them. So when you have, like, PvP games, right, having a small amount of players in the PvP environment can functionally mean that game is dead or stale, right? I can understand that. Or, for example, if your game is live service and requires, like, cooperative content for raids and stuff, if you don't have enough players to service that content, yeah, you could maybe say the game is dying or dead. This game doesn't have anything like that. There's no PvP and there's no content that strictly requires a group.
outside kind of bunko, but bunko's only like a gate as opposed to an actual requires a group to do. Doesn't it work? No, just HKs. So like at no point could this game ever be dead from that standpoint, because it doesn't have the need to have those players exist in the first place. Am I saying the game's gonna be big? No, but that's different from dead. And like, once again, yeah, like this game cannot die because there are no servers to be like, if Epic Game Services that runs the peer-to-peer in this game goes offline tomorrow, you can still play the game in its entirety except for peer-to-peer. There's rumors of like Destiny. It's just all just rumors. Destiny's not doing great. It's been like hemorrhaging users constantly now, and no one's going back to it.
Everyone for themselves.
Why is stagger a thing? Why is stagger a thing? Why is stagger a thing? I gotta drop off here. I'm gonna die. Why is stagger a thing?
There's your Ruskids right there. Go fight. Fuck you.
Why are you looking at me? I'm so fucking dead.
Oh, it's the HK's aggroing me, that's why. Because the lovely HK mechanic in this game is dog shit.
Oh god, I hate this game so much right now.
This is also why, like, I explicitly told them to do not nerf the ammo economy in this game until you actually revise the actual enemy, like the damage models and the enemies. Like, that's part of the problem of this monthly like patch approach, is they cannot look at things holistically. Like, when you have the only way you can deal with enemies in this game be through gunplay, don't nerf the way of enemy, like people dealing with that, right, via nerfing like ammo economy. Like, I do think they should nerf ammo economy overall, like, yes, but they did it without looking at the whole picture again. And that is the curse of doing the fucking monthly updates, is they just constantly are laying track in front of them, ignoring everything behind them. Exactly, right? Like, I need to like literally bring like 400 or 500 bullets a raid and like 10-20 medkits a raid, because that happens. The respawns happen. It's endless, and just like there's no ways on like navigating maps to get around enemies really. And so like, and here's the thing is too, right? They made the ammo counts a lot less now. But the problem is, it's still just an hourly restock. It's not grounded in any fucking reality in the game. All it says is like, oh well, if you get low on ammo, you just should have fucking logged in every hour to buy more ammo. They don't look at things holistically. It just creates so many problems in the game. Like, what we just had there wasn't like a skill check, or wasn't like a you chose the wrong path check. It's like a I should have just brought in more ammo and meds check, because that's what the game demands of you, is I need to bring in hundreds of rounds of ammunition and just more fucking meds. What's the other option? I just don't do mech farming? Should I not do the only way you do to make money in this game? Well, that's part of the reason, John, why I always wipe my account fairly often in this game, is because you should not be designing your game around fucking your old player base. That's not how you do your progression and your economy balancing. Don't balance around the people playing for a year and a fucking half and having endless amounts of resources at their disposal. But like, are you telling me when this is 11 million credits and this is fucking 13 million, 12 million credits that I need to farm? Hold on. So I need 23 million credits, right? And I get 25k per piece of water. So you're saying that I should go farm 920 barrels of water. That is the current, what the game is telling me to do, is to go pick up 920 barrels of water so I can afford these 2 upgrades and continue to progress in the game. No, it screams that it wants me to go codex hunting. And what does codex hunting require? Lots of fucking ammo. Because even if we're not directly killing the mechs ourselves, right? We still have to deal with the whole fucking issue of, we have to deal with the enemies on the road, right? We have to deal with the respawns that constantly happen. Because apparently, you know, we chose to go in the middle of the fucking day during the battle and not just waiting to scrap. Like, we're hobo scavengers. Why are we not waiting until the battle's over or to a lull in the battle to do the scrapping? But the respawns don't do that, right? The respawns are endless. So you're always at the height of the battle. Why are we looting currently during that period? Why are we not going during the lulls or like after the battle when there's scavengers and scavenging going on, and maybe patrols too, trying to like get an idea? Yeah. Well, night shifts aren't scavenging. The thing about night shifts though is that's not scavenging after the battle though, because night shifts don't have anything extra to scavenge. It's just a Eurasian flavored version of the map, right? If we get a night shift of this map, right, there aren't corpses of mechs littering the field that we can go loot. And even on, like, let's say, for example, Scorched Enclave during night shift, right, those giant towers of dead cyborgs, we can't loot those. You can't interact with those at all. I mean, to be fair, the MASH shouldn't fucking... The AT rifle in this game just shouldn't fucking exist. Same thing with the railgun. Well, that's always going to be the downside of peer-to-peer, Omar. Peer-to-peer is always going to be very iffy. Especially for an indie studio that's relying kind of in a they're most likely relying upon very plug-and-play with a little bit of modification peer-to-peer. I would be very surprised if they actually had a network engineer. Or at least a full-time one. So yeah, it's always going to be a bit rough in that capacity. Well, it goes to the whole premise of the game, right? Are we supposed to be scavengers or badasses? Why are we going during the middle of the day? Like, are we saying that this is the lull currently, or are you saying that it's constantly worse outside of this? Maybe the night shifts are more attractive in that period than if they actually have dead mechs and stuff like that on the actual map, but that's not the case.
Fill those pockets quick. I think they spotted us. That's it for us.
Hello, tank. The foam is one thing, Diet, but like at least the foam is like one and done, right? Like the first bar requires foam. The intermission tower requires foam, but the extra upgrades don't require foam. And in the grand scheme of things, like, yeah, the foam is part of the grind. The credits is worse, though. If you do not have an old account, if you have a newer account, the credits is worse, because you have to keep in mind, before tunnels existed, all of the players have stockpiled loot if they haven't sold it from the previous maps. But the thing that's nefarious about tunnels is the tunnels loot pools that you need to do for foam. All of the items that you get other than foam are fucking worthless. They are so cheap, and you get, like, you don't get enough of that. Like, they're all like usually sub 1,000 credits, and so they're all relatively fucking worthless. And so when you're doing the foam grind, you're really not farming for money. And so like you finish your foam grind, it's done. You get your 50 foam, get your 100 foam. You've gone through that, and now you need to go get all of the money. At least after the bar, though, you do get the AT rifle, which helps you get codexes a lot more consistently. But like, the money is by far the bigger issue. And like, it feels like it was, the numbers were put into the game solely based around it. What it feels like to me is that they have metrics from Unreal Engine, because Unreal Engine bakes metrics into their game, into their engine. So like the game developers can pull metrics from the player base. And I would not be surprised in the sense of they see how much money the average user has, or how, like, what people have. Maybe they're calling the top 1%, the top bottom, like, you know, bottoms, you know, 1%. But like, it feels like they balance the cost of these items based on what the player base already has.
Well, we're still here. Let's count for something.
The credit cost is ludicrous. And by and large, too, the same thing also is that, like, these older players, these older accounts who have stockpiled, like, ammo, they're not feeling the pain of the ammo economy update, right? To mention, fuck the IRL timer. It's such a stupid goddamn concept. Alright. Let's take a quick break from mech farming. Let's go over to downtown. Well, don't die, yeah, like, like, no, yeah, I would never tell anyone to, like, do that, right? And that's the problem in the sense of, like, once again, I mentioned this to Jeff already, but, like, both the bar and the tower should be introduced way earlier on, and you unlock, and have them matter more, and have the functionality be expanded upon later. I am not saying you need to remove the grind, but you need to stretch the grind out to be more realistic and more progressive for a player base. Because right now, like, it all just feels fucking like, what's the right word? Draconian. It all feels so aggressively, like, overcosted. And like, why put it that late behind such a fucking paywall? What's the logic behind it? Is it supposed to give you some sense of reward after unlocking it? It doesn't. I have the first bar, I have the second upgrade for the bar, and I feel fucking nothing. Because they don't do anything until you complete all of it. Sure, okay, I can get a little bit of lore tidbits if I go farm some alcohol on this one particular map. Is that the reward? Is a fucking drip feed of, like, a little bit of text lore? It's crazy.
As long as I'm the last
And,
one
like,
standing.
what is it, like, what is even, like, the credit cost mean? Are we paying people to, like, build it out? What's the fucking hourly wage of these assholes? Give me a fucking pickaxe and I'll go build it. Do they need like a fucking zoning permit or something? So like, for example, right, everything in here, I think maybe the MRE bag might be worth the most. Like, this might be 1.3. Everything in this container is basically worthless in the grand scheme of things.
I think they spotted us. That's it for us.
Like worthless, like kind of actually, I think the trimmer might actually be worth like 1,000 or something like that. Kind of worthwhile. That's for Lordos. Everything else in here is worthless. IFFs are actually worthwhile, which means, weirdly enough too, for a game that's supposed to be like not supposed to be about killing things endlessly, like one of the best ways of making money is farming IFFs if you have the rounds to do it, if you have the ammo to do it.
I think they spotted us.
Like for early on players, like killing enemies and getting like IFFs is great.
This is what it's all for.
I hear you, piece of shit. You don't need mods, not really worth anything. I hear you, I don't see you. Oh, there you are. Alright, you're harmless. Alright, anything else up here? I don't think so. Good body. Where's your backpack? There you go. Junkie. That medium mech down there, it sounds like? Probably is. Oh, yeah, it is. You are ammo, we don't really need you. Does it even go anywhere? Guess I can drop down, but I will be taking fall damage if I go that way. Yeah, almost assuredly. Go the safe way down.
One standing.
Fuck off, drones. You're doing the opposite of fuck off. You do not have modeled guns. Why are you shooting at me? Man, fucking the technology of Europe was out of control. They can just synthesize bullets midair that fire like they're being fired from a rifle fucking round or a rifle barrel. That's some great technology right there.
Wheel them down.
So, God, the fucking critical bloom. Let's go loot the house. Oh, we can see what ammo we got in here. I'm currently at the point for part where if it's worth anything, I basically sell it if I don't need it for the upgrades.
Don't miss. Make every shot count.
Don't think it's worth anything. Medical supplies, don't want to eat that. I mean, actually, I'm not even full at all, really. I can probably start looting a little bit. Alright, that's down here. Ammo, sure. We'll just loot all for right now. Let's not fuck with that, ideally.
I think they spotted us. That's it for us.
Don't mind me, just passing by. Please don't mind me. Please, don't mind me. Just moving through.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Give me your stuff. So we're gonna loot here and probably go to the left over here and loot that, and then like we'll leave after that.
Eyes on us.
Yeah, you really can't try to force it. It's just more like a surprise, still walker. And to be fair, you're not really missing anything. It's kind of pretty buggy. It's more derpy than effective.
Faster than the slowest human.
All right, I looted too much apparently. Whoops. E. I might just leave since I have HKs apparently. Probably not worth going to the much more open place full of enemies. I'm sure you will eventually. I mean, it can spawn on Alpha, it can spawn on Mesa. Just like run Alpha Mesa over and over again, you'll find it eventually. Apparently it has some like secret requirements to like, or like some like, it has something that makes it supposed to spawn more often or something like that. I don't know. Maybe Terrario knows because he does data mining in the game. But like it's the same thing as I'll say about like the Rat King Shrine. According to the developers, the Rat King Shrine does something. But my point is this: if something's effect is so small that no one notices it, does it actually do something? Alright, so here's the real problem with the HKs, right? Is that they fucking bring buddies. And so, like, all of these guys are probably aggro from the HKs that we have.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
Alright, well, let's leave. Stop spawning, please. I want to loot, but I really need to leave. I'll just do a few loot holes. I don't think that's what they meant, but if they were being pedantic and basically insinuating that that's what they meant by it does something, okay, sure. I feel like if anyone, like, I feel like if that was the case, John, Fruit Par would have figured it out by now, because I know Fruit Par was like literally grinding the shit trying to figure out how to actually spawn the damn thing. Alright, I don't think we found any alcohol for the patrons, unfortunately. Plenty of loot, all relatively worthless. The IFS being the only thing that was probably like a moneymaker there. Alright, let's load vendors. Let's see what we need. Sell you, sell you. Yeah, IFFs, thank God. And then you have like these which are just literally worthless. Anything else I can sell? I think I need these for something, so I can't really sell a lot of those or all of those. The glorious machine parts. You can see like how much these other, like all of these things that we're seeing here that are worth nothing are from the new Tunnels update, or new Tunnels update. That's from Lordos's quest, but thank God they're actually worth something. Those are old, so we can sell. Those are old. Those are also old. Anything else here? I need you for, I think you can sell like half of you. I need them for, I think some drones, I believe, but I don't need that many of them. We have our lovely thumb, which is so important, but apparently fucking worthless. You would think if something was so required for everything, it would actually either be ubiquitous, like you could find it everywhere easily, or it would actually be worth something. Yeah, nothing else is worth anything. You can probably sell some guns too, but I don't think I have any extra. I haven't really found any gotchas yet today. And then attachments are worth basically nothing too. So attachments are not worth going through and selling, because I think once again they are very much worthless. Does everyone take whiskey? Is that a little hidden thing? I will see. They should not add more ammo types or guns. They should probably remove ammo types and guns before anything else. Okay. Everyone's getting whiskey now. She did not like the whiskey. I have been lied to. Omar, I would rather... Alright, let's go take a gander. Vendors. Worthless. 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 Actually, can be used as a pocket SMG, so kind of not worthless. Redundant. Worthless because it's redundant and doesn't have a silencer. Redundant. Worthless because why not use an auto shotgun? There's no reason to use a spaz in this game because it can't one-shot basically anything. I love this gun, but doesn't have a functional purpose really. No really 9mm SMG does it with a low rate of fire. The only good 45 SMG, worthless. Kind of worthless, or kind of. This does actually have fulfill a niche as an actual DMR. This is absolute dog shit. Redundant and worthless. A meme, kind of redundant and worthless. It's like there's like a few 9mm SMGs that kind of work. Essentially, there are so many guns in this game that fulfill the same use case and role that their only purpose in this game is to be aesthetics. And then there's lots of guns too that functionally are just worse and don't fulfill any purpose at all. Like, we have 44 guns in the game and you can remove easily half of them and not affect the game adversely at all. So all they cause is item bloat and more work for the developers, because every single one of these guns has to be modeled and rigged and animated for every single one of these characters. And to be fair, most of these characters probably have the same rigs, so it's probably not that big of a deal. But like, back in the original launch of this game, there was massive issues with different handguards, and there still is, to be honest, of handguards, optics, sights, and certain characters not working. And keep in mind, think of this, Arc Raiders has 15 guns in this game, and not that many attachments for all of them. And it took that many developers that much time to make those guns feel good. And like, if you're going to rework ballistics, Tatus, which they probably need to do, how are you going to do that with 44 guns? Most AAA games do not push with that many guns in their game at launch. And they usually do it at way higher fidelity too. Like, that's why they should be only removing guns, not adding them, because the vast majority of guns that already exist only exist for vibes in the first place, and most of them are broken too. Like, there is no reason to use either of these shotguns. There is no reason to use most of these 9mm SMGs. There is no reason. The LMGs are god-awful. And like, we have a bunch of rifles that functionally, like the RPK M4, SA58, the G36, the regular M16, they all fulfill the same niche and they all basically feel the same. And they all basically do the same damage. They're functionally identical and feel the same. So why are you going to spend all of that time adding all of these items to the game that you have to make sure work correctly with all the guns they can be attached to? Like, all of these muzzle devices need to work properly. All these foregrips have to work properly. the lights have to work properly. The optics, all of these optics has to work on every single gun they can be attached to. It is so much slow and tedious work for guns that don't even feel that good to use, but are, once again, the really only contextual way players think you is this better than Ark. I'm gonna assume that you're English second language, or you translated that. No, I am not saying this is better than Ark. They're different. I only compare them because it's a useful comparison because we know Embark's size and the relative cost and time of development of Ark and the polish it has. So it's unfair to compare this to Ark Raiders, but it's a good comparison point when you're looking at systems and how long it takes to have simplistic gameplay loops with high levels of polish, because that's what Ark Raiders is. And when we're looking at Ark Raiders with like 15 units and like 15 guns, and we're looking at this game with 44 guns and way more units with like a tenth the size and probably a 20th or a 30th of the budget and probably like a quarter of the time. Yeah, of course lots of things are gonna feel like shit because they're biting off more than they can chew realistically. And they're digging themselves into a bigger hole by refusing to downsize some of the content they should have put into the game in the first place. And early access is the time to do that. It is the time where everything is on the chopping block. It's okay. The second you go out to live and 1.0, things get very sticky very quickly, right? Because then you're like actually taking things away from a customer where you said, this is a completed product now. But this is not a completed product, it's early access. It is the one time where it's okay to remove content that a customer already has for the sake of the game as a whole. Let me bring more ammo. Let's let me make sure this goes right. I think you are not realizing what you're asked for when rework ballistics, right? Because when you're saying you want to rework ballistics, and it's not even about guns feeling worthless anymore, it's about the attachments not feeling worthless anymore too. And what that entails when you have 3 developers. Like, once again, Ark Raiders is a good point of comparison because it took a team of hundreds of employees. Sure, not all of them were working on guns, but that's giving you the size of the company. Embark, 300 plus employees, hundreds of millions of dollars, the budget of Ark Raiders, and 8 years to get 15 guns with attachments into the state where they're acceptable for launch. That much time, that many employees, that much money. And now we're looking at three potential coders and maybe 15 artists or other people, like ancillary people on the side, right? And you want them to do more guns at the same fidelity with more attachments. It's unrealistic. It's infeasible. Invisible. It doesn't work. They're gonna choke on their own bite. If it's that, okay, I'll just stop at this point. I won't beat the head anymore. Oh my god, we got the same RNG. Thank God. Holy shit. So it's a miracle. If you think it's that simple, well, yeah, you're a fucking god tier programmer. Congratulations, you're a developer. If it's that simple, you should be very mad at Fundog for not doing it sooner. there are modular ways you can do weapons and projectiles and all that, right? But it doesn't get around the point that animation rigging and model rigging is a slow and tedious process. Especially when you have different skeletons likely for different characters. If you've never spent your time in a game engine before, syncing them up, it's a slow tedious process. And so you understand, right? It's not as simple as just doing a ballistic system, because that's part of the picture, right? It's about the polish of the guns and the attachments that they have, right? Because they have hundreds of attachments. 44 guns, 100 attachments. That is why I say they should remove a good portion of them. Not because it's easy to add a ballistic system to the game, but because it's slow and tedious to do what they've currently done. And doing that for every 44 of the guns is going to make it slower.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Did all three die already, or just two of them die? There's one. You know, I kind of wish the fire would despawn before the actual models despawned. Would make this a lot easier. See you, John. All right, we have two. Where's the third? Oh, there's definitely a third over there. There should be... Oh, actually, is it still alive? Is that mech over there? Okay, it's still alive. Okay, perfect. We have our three.
Everyone for themselves.
Yeah, this is Mask Man. This is one of his, I think, skins from one of the skin packs.
We decide what happens next.
The early it's he gets a very long grind to get to like the bar and the tower. I'm hoping they're not equating those to be like endgame things. It doesn't feel like those should be probably endgame. But there's like between like
Slowest human.
there's not really a lot of progression between like the early game and like between when you get to the bar, right? It just feels like these plateaus where it's very rough. Hey Bates, how's it going? Leave me alone, please. Alright, so thankfully we're not dead yet, knock on wood. Okay, yeah, we're good. EOD Hunter Killers, we're fine. Oh no, the machine parts is like, yeah, it's a very rough item to get early on because it's just pure RNG. It seems to drop more from the earlier maps, but like still, it's just RNG on if you get it or not. Jim Bob, I wouldn't say it. Once again, I said this before earlier on stream, but it's like, it's essentially the ambitions, the ideas that they have are all AAA ideas, or ideas that need to be heavily polished for them to work, because they're relatively simple. Like, they need to lean a lot more into the gamification of their game, right? They're thinking very much, I think, in set pieces and like in visuals, but they need to think of it like in the terms of a game. That's what this is at the end of the day, is a game. And they're not gonna, they don't have the resources to make it a seamless, polished, simple loop.
I think they spotted us.
They're never gonna be able to get the people who like hate movement to feel better about it, right? Because it's gonna take them endless amounts of time to get to the point where it feels that good, and other things will suffer. The problem with tunnels right now is they've gutted it partially, and I think they're gonna gut it even more. And so, like, the question is this: what point does this tunnel serve? Or like, I ask this of anyone in chat: what point does the tunnel serve for you? What feelings do the tunnels evoke? Alright, got a Codexus, thank God. That's a good whole chunky, almost 2 mil out of the way.
Well, we're still here.
Because the problem with tunnels, right, if it's supposed to be a system that evokes the feeling of travel, it fails epically at that. Well, what you're confusing is the fact that, Zeke, they've gutted tunnel respawns. No tunnels in the game, basically at this point, spawn enemies. You will occasionally see a patrol here and there, but by and large, tunnels are devoid of enemies. And so all they serve currently is that it's a way for people to convert time into resources at little to no cost outside of the time. It is basically, in my opinion, you going to an area and gambling slots with your time. You're there looking for foam, you're there looking for water, you're there looking for ammo, you're looking for resources. You are gambling your time at basically in a slot machine to get stuff. And if that's fun and engaging gameplay to you, okay, it's not what I would call a game. In my opinion, I'm not making choices during that period of time, right? I am just pulling the lever on the slots. And let's say, for example, even if they go CJV, even if they gut the current, let's say, for example, they hear the complaints that the tunnels are a slot machine. What if they were just remove the vast majority of containers from tunnels, right? So now you have a level that doesn't have enemies really anymore and doesn't have loot anymore. So what does it do? Is it just a buffer, a time buffer, an ambiance piece? It is the way they have done tunnels. Well, Jim Bob, you're ignoring the fact that they've never ever revised something in the past. Every single, like, the only possible thing you could easily say that they have actually reworked is water. And water, all they've really done is gut it to the point where it doesn't matter anymore. It is a gatekeep system that just requires you to have a certain amount, and then other than that, doesn't really do anything. If I go to 0 water, nothing happens. If I go to 100 water, I get extra money for, like, selling water. But, like, it doesn't have really any effect on gameplay, really. It's just in the currency, essentially, at this point. It is devoid of meaning. And so, like, they have never shown in their past year and a half, a year and maybe a quarter, if you want to be a little bit more conservative, of, like, actually going back and reworking a system. They only got it. Stamina came out. They did, like, people commented about it because it was too draconian. And as opposed to reworking it, they just gutted it to the point of irrelevance. And then it's just left here now. That's how they solve problems, is they just introduce some things and gut it. They don't iterate. So I'm not holding my breath for them fixing tunnels. They're just gonna gut it, and they might touch it eventually, knock on wood. But I'm not holding my hopes out for it. But like the shortcomings of tunnels, right, is that it is, they're going to, I feel like, really, like, I think everyone's gonna realize this at some point, right? Tunnels is like, the way they've done tunnels requires its own game loop. And they don't have time or resources to develop a whole new game loop for tunnels, considering the core one isn't even existing yet. Wait, now. Where are you, M4? You get over there. Here are those ammo meds. I'll bring a few more meds, actually, just to be careful. Alright, right back. The question is this, is like, what is, like, the first question I would ask, right, is what is the actual purpose of tunnels, right? Is it supposed to evoke the feeling of travel? If yes, then we can start talking on that point. But if no, what are they supposed to do in a game sense? Like, what's the purpose of tunnels? Is it supposed to add? Because like, if the question is, it's supposed to add multi-raid. Do you really need those to exist for multi-raid, or do they need to be as long as they are? Or like, if you're saying for multi-raid, right? So you kind of are saying they're supposed to evoke the feeling of travel through the world, right? Alright, we have half. Do we have the other half? That would be, oh? Oh my god, we are so lucky today. This is beautiful. This does not happen. We do not get these back to back like this, ever. This is a very fortunate. And like, so the first person, systemically, what is tunnel supposed to do? Is it supposed to feel like travel? Because like, that should influence your design of tunnels. If there's supposed to be like some bespoke, like procedural level, right? Then what are they supposed to actually do in that context? Should they be a buffer in between maps then at that point, or should they be their own thing? And like, the thing is too, right? Why are like, is that how long it takes for us to get to the surface? Is that like that little short stint? Is that actually the entirety of travel? I don't know. It just doesn't. It just doesn't feel like they looked at like tunnels from like well, just like everything else, right? It feels siloed. It feels like they came up with this idea for tunnels and we're like, we're gonna put this into the game and not attach it to really anything else. Yeah, like, and Blood, if that was the idea, was like, we need to add some like light procedural content for like endgame fluff for people who want to challenge, that could be a design goal of tunnels that would influence how you make them. 100%. And none of those answers are wrong, right? But they influence the design, right? But right now, tunnels doesn't feel like it has any of that. It just feels like it exists, really, right? It doesn't feel like some endgame level. It doesn't feel like travel. Get away from me. Is it an EXO? Yeah, it's an EXO. Also, partially the issue with the AI too is like, this is a very common trope with the mechs. The mechs have insane issues bringing their guns to bear, right? Like, you would think that this mech would be shooting this EXO right now, but it's not. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a survival horror thing. Or, for example, it's supposed to be like a template that it can be different things too, right? It doesn't feel like there was like any cohesive design purpose behind it, right?
As long as I'm the last one standing.
There we go. Congratulations. You did it. You did it. You killed the Exo. All right, now I need you to kill him. Or you to kill it. Either or works. I need one more codex, please.
Everyone for themselves.
That sounds like a lot of work, though, Blood Panda. All right, that makes that too. So we have our 3 mechs, I think. Why are you aggroed at me? What the hell?
As long as I'm the last one standing.
Here we go. And once again, like, basically my core point is this. You were an indie studio, lean into indie solutions.
I don't know. Right out.
Why are you angry? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. What are you upset with me for?
Nail them down and we can break out.
I've never seen a media mech actually get this pissed before. It's kind of weird, actually. There it goes. Now it's dropped aggro. Like, usually media mechs don't get this pissed at like actual players. They're usually tuned to like not actually aggro to players unless you really piss them off by shooting them. So it's very weird to see like a Eurasian media mech get really pissed off like that. Very weird. Thankfully, I already saw that we have EODs. Thank God for that. No grabbers today. I'm not gonna lie, it really feels like whenever I come back to this game and do some codex farming, it always feels like the first enemy is a grabber. I wonder if there's like some hidden mechanic where the more you play, like the less actual like aggressive enemies you get, maybe for a bit though. Essentially, I wonder if like the grabber HK has a cooldown where you can only get it ever so often. But they're not really a maze though, because there's 4 variants. Like, you will learn, it's not really a maze because you learn the path through it pretty quickly. I guess if you have like, if you don't remember paths, or like if you don't have very good spatial navigation abilities over time, sure, you might not ever learn it, but like the maps exist for the 4 variants online, and you will passively learn those with time if you play enough. If there were full procedural too, the only problem I see to Omar also is that like, there are plenty of players who hate the fact they have to backtrack, and usually it's honestly usually a cardinal sin too of procedural level design. Of like, think of every roguelike you've ever played. that has like levels that require backtracking, and basically literally all of them provide a way of teleporting to avoid the backtracking. Like Dead Cells has lots of potential backtracking, but it gives you teleports at like every branching choice to make sure you never have to like run back through the level. Hey zombie, how's it going? Zeke, in my opinion, they need to, if they want both the bar and the tower to be important to progression, you do what every game basically does. You introduce stuff like that early, and you slowly feed progress to players through those systems. Tie in the bar and the tower to things like reputation and quests and finding traders and NPCs. Like, have them be the avenues of how you progress the player through the game. If you want them to be important, I'm fucking on board, but like, introduce them earlier and use them as a training tool for players. Because like, those are perfectly grounded ways of doing exposition. And it's also a way of giving like visual feedback to players over time of their progress. You start out, you have some like little dinky bar that's like a mini bar, and like it has like no one, right? And as you progress and like you get reputation and you progress through the game, you find new traders, new NPCs, and you expand things like the bar and the tower to the point where you can kind of see and feel that progress, right? You can see like, oh, I just started out with an early bar, and I start going to like a late bar, I can see the progress between them. No, I think they're slow adding stuff, Zeke, because they're once again, they're focused on AAA game loops that require lots of iteration and time, and the things that I'm recommending don't require the things that cause them the most issues, like models and rigging which are slow, and animations which are slow and tedious. It's very hard for you to make animation, like animating faster. It's like that classic kind of fucking meme for like, you know, you can't throw more people at a problem at a certain point, right? Like if one woman births a baby in 9 months, 9 women don't birth a baby in 1 month. There is going to be things that are just naturally slow, and the things about that I'm recommending, right, usually get around that, like most indie games do, by gamifying things and making them simpler on the code side. Because a thing like a bar or like a 2D like screen for traveling with events doesn't require AI or pathfinding or animations. It's so much simpler from the coding side, and you can create tooling to the point where coders don't even have to touch it anymore. You can have artists or people who are kind of on the ancillary do content improvements or additions for those. Like, part of the problem is it feels like a lot of the things that they're doing requires their very limited coders and engineers to work on. And so naturally it's slow. Like, if you have someone who has to go debug an AI like an AI tree for pathfinding or just AI logic, right? They're gonna be in the weeds for a long time. Like, having done debugging before for software, it's not quick. Sure, AI can help, but AI can't really help with blueprints all that much either, probably. And maybe it can, I don't know. I haven't tried using AI with Unreal Blueprints before if they're using blueprints for AI, but like, it's still a slow, tedious process. All right, vendors. That was another good one. 3 codexes. Like, this is basically where we want to be, right? Like, if this is the plan. Like, if we get Ashen Mesa, we get that layout with 4 mechs, we get 3 of the codexes, and then we leave 2 mil basically in the bank. That is the dream. So now we're at 5 mil. We're still 6 mil short, but like it's very lucrative if we actually get that lab. Now, granted, getting that proper setup seems like RNG, but man, is it lucrative when it actually fucking fires. You bring more meds. Yeah, Zeke, it's about making your workflows more indie focused, about gamifying things and making them not rely upon the tedious aspects of doing games like this. We got cursed.
Oh, we should have chosen another exit.
So like, so for those of them, we're on a night shift right now. A night shift, or it's night shift. It's basically a variant of the map where it's like, it's just pure like post-war or post like fight. It's just strictly Eurasia and scavengers, well, scavenging Eurasians. But like, the unfortunate part is like, there's not really like, it would be cool to see like the after battles here, right? Of like, you know, scrap that we could actually interact with and loot. I was not personally well experiencing the crashes, so I cannot speak to it. I know quite a few people were having issues in like tunnels C and D in regards to crashing. I was never one of those people, so I unfortunately do not know. I am not one of them, so I don't know. I generally recommend this. There has been consistent issues that I know about with 4000 series NVIDIA cards. I would recommend, if you're having lots of issues in regards to crashes that seem to be related to your GPU, go do a driver display uninstall. Driver display utility, it's DDU. If you Google it, DDU, you should be able to find it. And do a clean and reinstall of your graphics drivers. Because, I'm not gonna lie, NVIDIA, the reason why NVIDIA used to be so much better than AMD is not even for performance reasons. It's that NVIDIA used to actually spend and time on their drivers and had good quality control. That has been thrown the fuck out the window. Their drivers are dog shit now and constantly cause issues. So that has kind of been like the bane of NVIDIA, especially with their newer GPUs, is their drivers are shit now.
Perfection.
And so typically the reason why like DDU might work in your instance with the 4000 series card is that when you do a new driver install, it doesn't properly clean up the previous driver like it should be doing. And so that kind of the extra little tidbit that's still left in kind of your driver area from the previous driver fucks up your current driver. And DDU helps clean that out basically. Yeah, there's nothing here for us really. Like, the thing about the night shifts is that you don't really get more loot or different loot. It's just the same map with different enemies and a different lighting system. But like, it would be nice if like, for example, there was actually like ruins of mechs on the field or other like things you can scavenge.
That's it for us.
Oh, more like I'm not trying to be a doomer here. Like, let's say I'm a fan of the IP. I've kind of accepted the game's gonna be what the game's gonna be, and all I can do is hope that it's a learning experience for them, really. All I'm hoping is that they're like, I'm hoping that they're more all in on the IP than they are on the game. well, not even unique dust, but like, it doesn't even need to be unique, but like, there should be like, this whole game's supposed to be about like you're a scavenger and a hobo. Why does it never feel like we're scavenging or hoboing? It feels like we're more of thieves than we are scavengers, right? Because we're going like to containers and looting containers. We're not going to the junk pile and looting the junk pile. And like, if the night shift's supposed to be like, you know, the after battle shift, why are there like not like the corpses or like ruins around or like mechs destroyed that we can go scavenge or loot?
I think they spotted us. That's it for us. Only have to be faster than the slowest human.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if this should be unique, but just like having extra incentive to like maybe actually loot night shifts and not just run through would be nice. Because by and large, right, because you get nothing else better or different from night shifts really, except for maybe the ability to hunt like a Mother Courage, it's, unless you're like doing that, you just kind of leave. There are mods on Nexus mods to toggle night shifts on or off. There are quite a few mods that make the game a much more tailored experience to you, but I don't do them because of, hey Vinny, how's it going? Because I don't want to like, part of the reason why I don't do lore videos anymore about the game is I am very cautious now of, for my own personal, you know, my own personal morals, I do not want to make the game seem more than what it is. And because I have a better picture now on what the game is, I do not feel comfortable elevating the game to any higher status than it currently deserves. And same thing with the mods, right? I don't want to unlock it's also why I reset my account constantly too for new players, but like, I don't want to make the game seem like something it's not. That feels misleading. Appreciate it, Vinny. And like the mod thing is too, right, is like I want to, if it takes me 20, 30, 50 hours to get the bar unlocked, right? It's nice to be able to show the developers that. I mean, like, hey, I played your game all on stream. This is how long it took me to do something, and I feel like at least I know your game on a pretty decent level. Like, I can't perfectly emulate the new player experience because I still have my knowledge, but I can at least put myself in the same shoes as them, even if I know where to walk, and if they don't. Because, like, by and large, I'm not gonna lie, it definitely feels like, it might solidly take us maybe about 30 to 50 hours to just do the bar unlocks. All right, we have half the equation. Do we have the other half? I see. Come on, spawn. You know you want to. I'll take Racking also. Oh well. I mean, with this many tanks, there's a chance maybe the mechs will die. It's insanely expensive. Well, it's also RAM because, like, there's an aspect also RAM where, like, as you can tell from my lore videos, I am pretty, like, grounded and logically thinking. I am not. That is not their approach. And so it feels like even my speculations that I make are so wildly off base now too, because I know better now of like hey, the way they think and the way I think are completely different. Because as you can tell, like I do approach things from like I try to ground things, right? I try to make things like logical or like make sense, right? And we're probably much more leaning into the whole like anime mecha vibes, where it's not really about if it makes sense logically, it's more about the moods it evokes or the feelings it evokes, right? You don't ask like how this mech works. It's more about the mood this mech evokes. I don't really watch anime or mecha, but I did look it up. But like, it's like, so apparently it's like a trope of mecha, is that like it is usually very out there by design, because it's not really supposed to be grounded in any reality. It's supposed to be kind of ludicrous by nature. So Made in Korea, are you explicitly asking about the game or the IP? Are you, I want to make sure I understand correctly. Are you, oh, Rat King, oh thank God, Win Codex. So Made in Korea, are you asking why the IP is not more popular or the game's not more popular? Oh, because the game is kind of not there in any capacity. I only recommend this game for people who are really into the aesthetics and are okay with a very lackluster game.
Everyone for themselves.
The game is not remotely there, that's why. Just go read reviews. It's less than that, honestly. I would say just, please don't step on me. Go look at reviews, you can find your answers there. They haven't done a big media push at all too, which doesn't help also, but like, there's a few different factors, right? PvE games by nature are not going to usually be as big as PvP games on the charts, first and foremost. Not saying they can't be, but like, it usually takes a very like novel PvE game for that to work, right? And even then, they usually don't even come close to like actually supplanting those PvP games over time. And then think about the indie games too. Like, this is a very small developer. Think of the indie games, the small studio games that get that high on the charts too, right? I'm basically saying it's not going to be a big number game, right? And that's kind of by design. Yeah, don't buy the tanks. I'm just chilling. Yeah, and the gameplay loop is really simple, right? But it's like, the gameplay loop in this game is very simple. It's very straightforward. You're kind of playing for the experiences and the vibes of like the art, the feeling, kind of just like immersing yourself in the world. But on a gameplay level, it's a relatively simple loop. And it's a simple loop of most extraction shooters, right? Or like that type of ilk of game. You go into a map, you loot, you kill things, you leave. And then you upgrade your base and you go do it again. There's no like central story to get people hooked onto it, right? I gotta leave. Mech containers are a minute. No, that's always been the case. The small containers are pretty quick. It's just like the giant codex containers are usually a minute. I think always a minute, really. So if I drill into... Actually, I don't even need to drill into that. Leave me alone. I don't see what's hunting me, which is not a great sign. It might be EODs. I think we're okay. Thanks, Crew. I appreciate it. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying it's... Well, I'm saying it's a niche game. It's a niche game for a very specific audience right now, despite the fact that they made a pretty mainstream loop. Essentially, I've used this analogy before, I think, on Discord, but I'll say it here. There's kind of crafting. Yeah, there's crafting, but like it's a monkey's paw krill sort of crafting. Yes, there is crafting, but like by and large, you won't be doing a lot of it. Mainly just for drones. the AT rifle eventually, sure.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
The way I like to flavor this game, right, is that it's kind of like if you took like a very baseline staple game, let's say Monopoly, and you put a grimdark flavoring over it. Like, everyone knows the core loop here. It just has that little flair to it, right, where it's the grimdark version of Monopoly. But I think the personal problem I have is that with an IP like this, it feels like you're advertising that type of game to an audience who would go to a boutique game store and look for novel games. They're okay with a weirder experience. They're okay with things that maybe aren't mainstream, because your IP isn't mainstream either, so it doesn't need to be, the game doesn't need to be mainstream either too. You can explore the design space around that.
Another dollar.
It's very akin to like a stable like Monopoly too, right? Because if you played Monopoly once, you've played it every time. It's a little, there's variations here and there in Monopoly, right? But like, you know the game loop, it's tried and true every time you play it, and it's very true at this game also. Where are you, Codex? All right, so in the span of 3-ish hours, I would say personally we got pretty lucky in regards to our mech spawns in 3 hours. Not so much in the beginning, but definitely near the end. So we got 6 mil, we'll just round up to say 6 mil in 3 hours. So 6 hours for enough to buy the bar, this upgrade for the bar, and then another 6 hours for this. So we're 12-ish hours away from both of these, just for the credit cost. And that is, I will say, that is assuming that we get consistently lucky with the mechs. I will say, I consider what we just saw with getting those mechs back to back very lucky. I've had days where I see it's a struggle to get those mechs to spawn, even if I'm like spamming Mesa. So I would say conservatively like 12-ish hours to get enough money for these two. Conservatively, it's probably more than that. And keep in mind, like, yeah, it's so much. And then keep in mind the tower after this is going to cost a lot too, and also require 100 foam, which we're not even close to. I genuinely think between the bar and the tower, there is like probably 50 to 60 hours of grind before you get both of them unlocked. And it feels like the cool stuff is behind them. But anyway, that's it for today, everyone. I might be streaming this weekend. There might be inclement weather, so I'm not sure if I'll have power or not, but I might stream, might not stream. If at the very worst, I'll be back next Thursday for another stream of this game. If not, I'll see you guys soon with that. All right, bye all. I played it a little bit zombie. I'll probably get back to it eventually, but it's one of those times where I need to find time to stream it, and sometimes my weekends are busy, but maybe not. All right, see y'all.